Insurance giant AIG, Zillow, the real estate site, and video game maker Activision Blizzard all missed earnings estimates. Good news today on jobs. First-time jobless claims down by 16,000 last week, hitting a low for this year. And things are popping at Dr. Pepper Snapple. It's hiking its shareholder dividend by 10% and buying back $1 billion worth of its own stock. I'm Tom Busby, CNBC Radio.
Hi, Tom Bodette, trying to understand this whole dating app thing. You're supposed to swipe right for the profiles you're into and left for the ones you're not. So if I'm attracted to a clean, comfortable room for the lowest price of any national chain at Motel 6, I'd swipe right? Or was it left? Wait, I just sent myself a picture of myself. 6'3"? Yeah, right. I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
When the temperature starts to drop, it helps to have a legend under the hood. No, not the kind that swings a giant axe and enjoys the camaraderie of oversized cattle. We're talking Napa Legend and Legend Premium Batteries. Buy one today, and you'll get up to a $20 prepaid Visa card by mail. That's $20 back, and the comfort of knowing you're riding along with a real legend. That's Napa know-how. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer expires 2/29/16.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Keith Langlots for tonight. Mostly clear, low 52. Daytime Friday, sunny, high 85. Friday night, mostly clear, low 51. Saturday, we start the holiday weekend, sunny and a high 83. Saturday night, mostly clear, low 52. Valentine's Day, Sunday, sunny and a high 87. Sunday night, we finish the weekend mostly clear at low 54. Washington's birthday, President's Day, the holiday, sunny and a high 86. That's your weather forecast for this hour from KCAA 106.5 FM and 1050 AM, the stations that leave no listener behind.
It's time for the KCAA Community Calendar, brought to you exclusively by Learn for Life, a growing network of public charter schools. The clear mission of Learn for Life is to motivate and mentor students who have dropped out of school and provide them with the personalized education and technical training necessary to advance their lives.
Here's a look at the community calendar. I'm Carlos Gonzalez. The city of San Bernardino invites you to take advantage of Free Dump Day. If you haven't wanted mattresses, appliances, tires, electronics, or shrubs to get rid of, mark the last Saturday of each month on your calendar. You must provide proof of residency with your driver's license or utility bill. No hazardous or construction materials will be accepted. To find out the times and places for Free Dump Day, Google City of San Bernardino calendar. If you're looking for something fun, interesting, and free to do, the City of San Bernardino History and Railroad Museum is open every Saturday from 10 till 3. Schedule a group tour by calling 909-888-3634 and learn some fascinating firsts about San Bernardino. That number again, 909-888-3634. And that's a look at the KCAA Community Calendar. I'm Carlos Gonzalez.
The KCAA Community Calendar is presented exclusively by Learn for Life, a growing network of public charter schools where students can complete their education on a part-time basis. To find a resource center nearest you, call 1-877-360-LEARN or visit Learn for Life online at learn4life.org.
Do you have a broken window or rock chip on your vehicle that needs repair? Give us a call at HM Auto Glass, 951-858-5190. HM Auto Glass is your locally owned and operated auto glass specialist, offering low cost and high quality auto glass repair and replacement. We also work with all major insurance companies and offer free mobile service. So call us, 951-858-5190. That number again is 951-858-5190.
This is KCAA.
Hey! What the? Honey! The water just stopped in here.
They turned it off because you're wasting water.
What? What are you talking about?
You know.
Because you know it's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought, drought. Yeah, it's pretty clear, we're really short on blue. It's time to save it, like we're supposed to do. Some say it's doom, gloom, and all our grass must go. But together we can make it and enjoy our golden state. It's all about that drought, no water. It's all about that drought.
Welcome to the Water Zone on KCAA 1050 AM and 106.5 FM. Hope everybody had a great week. Hey, we do want to hear from you, so give us a call, 909-888-5222 in the 909 area code. If you're outside that, call 888-909-1050. I'm one of your hosts, Rob, and along with, and today is C Day.
C Day.
The letter C. So I'll introduce my co-host. He's captivating, calm, candid, capable, carefree, caring, cautious, and certain, cheerful, challenging, civilized, clever, cooperative, colorful, conservative. I'm doing good so far, right?
Oh, yeah.
Compassionate, confident, competent, creative, and just plain cool, Mr. Mike Barron.
Woo! Well, thank you, Rob. You're the most accurate reporter I've ever had the privilege of working with.
I got to be honest with you. There is one adjective that begins with the letter C that describes a person that I just didn't feel comfortable saying.
Crazy?
No. Cute.
Cute. Hey, if you want to check it out, you can go on to
see Mike on here.
But hey,
Mike's happily married. I'm happily married to
That's
beautiful wives, Sarah and Pam. So, but I guess I would never call you cute. I don't mean it from that way, but I wouldn't ever address you that way. So,
well, hey, can you believe the temperatures out here?
Well, do you know what the hottest day on Sunday was?
You mean like last Sunday
in California?
In the history of? Oh, you mean where?
Actually,
where?
The hottest place in America on Sunday.
Death Valley?
No. Fullerton, California.
Really?
89 degrees.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I thought it was hotter at my house, like 90 something, but at least that's what it said on the thermometer. But
that's quite
probably not
remarkable.
calibrated.
Yeah, but 89 degrees Fahrenheit, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow. Well,
Celsius would be all dead.
Yes, it'd be pretty hot. But I'm thinking, well, where in the world is the El Nino we were all expecting in February?
I don't know. We have to get that meteorologist back.
Well, it's interesting because on the one hand, it seems that in the Pacific Northwest and in Northern California, which, by the way, on February 2nd, which was last week, they measured the snow, the water content of the snow, and it was above average. It was like 24% water content versus a year ago at the same date, it was only 5%. So thankfully, El Nino has resulted in some weather patterns that have deposited snow in the Sierras and started to fill up the Northern California reservoirs. But down here in Southern California, we're below average in terms of our rainfall.
Nada. It's probably the algorithms they use in that modeling process that's probably not right.
Like I always said, no two El Ninos are alike. And the last one that we had in March of 98, we had 13 inches of rain in Southern California.
Well, you know what they say about salespeople? You can tell when they're lying when their lips are moving. But now that's shifting over to the
El Nino.
the
meteorologist.
The meteorologist for that. What else do you know?
Well, it's interesting that the state of California, the State Water Resources Control Board, is considering adopting as a guiding principle the human right to water, so that would be actually part of their criteria that they attempt to achieve. So, they do a heck of a job, all the water agencies, as we've mentioned several times. The water agencies in California are really quite remarkable in what they've been able to achieve, not only in preparation for this drought, but during the drought. But yet, the problem is that we don't give them enough recognition. We don't really realize how much effort they're putting into. So I'm not sure exactly how the new human right to water is going to motivate them more, but maybe it will help them provide for better water resources in rural communities.
I know in my city, on one of the thoroughfares, busy thoroughfares, they had the sign that says, water conservation in practice and not watering the grass and stuff. And they did. They made sure it didn't grow and died. So now I saw they ripped all that out and they put drip in, and now they're planting hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of plants that they're going to water. So
are they drought tolerant plants?
I would assume so. I couldn't stop on the road to look.
Well, here's the interesting thing to think about, because they've done that in the city of Glendora, where I live, and they've replaced all of the lawns and the medians with, I think, more drought tolerant plant material, but they have installed all this drip line tubing, which when you have that kind of dense planting scheme, when you have a lot of plants in that median, you're really using 12-inch spacing on the drip line.
Right.
And when they're 12 to 18 inches apart, the rows are that much distance apart, you're actually putting down water almost as fast as if you were watering with sprinklers. So here's the key question. If they do as good a job scheduling drip, which is somewhat new to so many maintenance people, we may end up seeing this many cities not achieve their water conservation targets.
And see the expense go up the labor. I can't tell you how long this thing is, and I as I drove by every day, my wife pointed it out. But you're right; they look like they're 12 to, I'll say 15, maybe 18 inches separation. But I mean, you're talking thousands of these puppies, and we're talking miles.
Yeah.
And for the labor to do all of that, that's a lot. I was just surprised they didn't just leave it the way it was.
Well, it's the focus was on how do we save water, and I don't blame cities for wanting to improve the aesthetics of those medians. I mean, I don't like to look at that brown, brown dead lawn, and then you start getting weeds, and then it gets dusty, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be interesting to see how this all works its way out. But just as with traditional irrigation systems, you need to have ongoing maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know how to schedule your irrigation cycles. Drip does not eliminate those two factors.
That's right.
So you have to do maintenance. You have to do proper irrigation scheduling. And you know very well how many folks out there can take the drip line factors, say 1 gallon per hour, 12-inch spacing, and then say, oh, yeah, I can calculate the precipitation rate, and I know what the efficiency is, and therefore, since ET is 1 inch this week, I'm going to water for 30 minutes.
Right.
Well,
or worst case, they see a dry spot, and they go, wow, the emitters are already built in the tube, so let me get this other emitter and punch a hole and add that in. They just change everything.
Well, and that's going to be interesting to see how that again works out. But hey, on the just with respect to what's going on with water, it looks like the state of California, through the State Water Resources Control Board, will be coming out with new water reduction goals for the various water agencies, and they're still going to use 2013 as the base year. So it'll be interesting to see if the state has a 20% water reduction goal or a 22% or maybe an 18%. And then, of course, as we've talked on previous shows, there's going to be adjustments for those water agencies that have climates that are hotter than the average in that region, or perhaps they have larger landscapes than what the average is in the region. So there's going to be some adjustments. It'll be interesting to see when those numbers come out. But December we only saved something like 17%.
Yeah.
So that concerns me a little bit because we got to keep, as we've said before, we're not out of the drought.
No. Well, Felicia Marcus said this week, we're in field goal range, but you want a touchdown.
That's right. It's halftime, right? It's halftime. So
it's halftime.
You can't go out and celebrate at halftime unless you're a spectator. Then you can.
Hey, I found us some new jobs. Not the one I told you about the other day.
Oh.
I was telling Mike about a job. This isn't what I'm going to tell you, but there was a job I was told about from the Department of Water and Power. Unbelievable, like close to almost 190-something thousand a year to be a security guard for them. But I found something that's easier for us, that we don't have to drive to L.A.
Well, water has increased in value, so maybe there's a relationship
true.
there. As water pricing goes up, guarding the water departments. Of course, we don't want anybody sneaking in behind the scenes, right? And
of course not.
Poisoning
it or anything.
So maybe that's
Yeah. But there's a new thing that after the last little El Nino we had last week. Over in Griffith Park, people were walking through, and guess what they found? Creepy crawlers. Worms. Millions of worms coming out of the ground. So
because it was wet?
Yeah. We can go collect those and sell them to the fishing places. We can make a mint on that.
Provided we can get some water into the lakes.
Yes.
So that's what we
Anyway, that's a little bit of silly news. But serious news is that City of Redlands, did you hear about them?
Well, I know that they had failed to meet their objectives, and they had been fined $61,000.
Yep.
But do you have an update on what's happened since then?
It says that on January 18th, the Redlands City Council voted 4-1 to increase water rates by 40% over 3 years. The council also tacked on another 2.5% annual increase for sewer fees. And the justification for this huge increase is that the city residents have done such a great job, you love this, of reducing water usage during the drought that the Redlands Water Department is now short $2 million a year.
Oops.
So, actually, Redlands was fined by the state for failing to meet the mandate, as you said, 36% reduction when the city only achieved 25. So the city people are not happy. They're revolting. They're angry about that. So,
but they need to realize that the consumers there. First of all, Redlands has one of the lowest pricing, some of the lowest pricing for water. I think it's like $1 and change for a unit of water. So
you're lucky they don't live in Monterey. But
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
But you're right.
To go from, let's say, $1.50 to $1.90, you're still way under $2. I mean, there's very few water agencies today that charge under $2 per unit of water.
Yep, you're right.
And remember when we had our guest from that wrote the book "Let There Be Water,"
Seth Siegel,
and also we had the Israeli consulate,
right?
And so he gave me the price of water per unit in Israeli currency. Well, I did the translation because they sell it in, by the cubic meter, where we sell it by the cubic foot. Anyways, $9 and change for 100 cubic feet, and that's why they have quite the water ethic. Because that can add up very, very fast,
absolutely.
Right? So there is a relationship between price and
the value
consumption.
Right.
Consumption, and I think maybe we need to go out and do a show out of Redlands, and we can show people all of the great new technologies to save water on a landscape.
Absolutely. I know the City Hall has used our product. We did a project there about 2 years ago, and they
the City of Redlands.
Yeah, put in smart controllers and the drip products and stuff, and that was at City Hall. We did that with Home Depot.
Excellent.
So just to remind everybody, we do have a contest that's going to end on the 15th, and the contest is easy. You got to guess for your city or anywhere that you pick within California or anywhere, I guess, in the country. We're happy with that. And so
I think we want to just do it in California because that's where.
Okay, we have listeners all over. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Sorry about all you listeners outside of California, but
yeah. So
go ahead. You can send it to us.
All right. So wherever you live, your mother lives, your sister lives, your grandkids, your girlfriend, whatever.
Pick one city.
Yeah,
pick
and
one
by
city.
the 15th, you go to www.torowatersmart.com, and you go in where you leave a message, and you tell us your name, your address, and what your guess is for how much rain is going to be from the month of February. But the deadline is midnight on February 15th.
And remember, even though in 1998 there was 13 inches in Southern California, we haven't had virtually any rain in February in Southern California, so
right.
I wouldn't guess too high of a number if I was entering the contest.
Right. Well, anyway, you'll win a nice gift card for dinner and another one for something special in the city that you picked or where you live, because we don't want to give you something in Chicago if you live in Fullerton or Riverside. It's a little far to go, and we're not going to pay for airfare.
That's true.
Can't get that out of our budget.
That's true.
Unless we can. Anyway, we got a great guest today. His name is Tim Quinn. He's the executive director of the Association of California Water Agencies. And Tim leads the largest water organization of its kind in the nation, with offices in Sacramento, Washington. His association is a statewide association whose 430 local public water agency members are responsible responsible for 90% of the water delivered in California. And Quinn, who became the Association of California Water Association's director in 2007, has 25 years' experience in California water issues. He really knows his stuff. He's worked on several key policy initiatives, including the Bay Delta Conservation Plan, now under development to protect species and provide regulatory assurance to water users. He's participated in negotiations on Sacramento Valley water management and a whole bunch of stuff. And before that, where I first met him, he was a deputy general manager of Metropolitan Water District of Southern California and represented a lot of issues back in 1994. So we're going to bring him on to the show, and here we go.
Thank you, Rob.
Appreciate you coming on. I know Mike and I had an opportunity of hearing you at the Irrigation Association, and one of the topics you were talking about was water supply challenges during the drought. But before we get into that, a lot of our listeners don't know what the Association for California Water Agencies is, and if you can kind of maybe state their mission and objective for everybody.
Well, the Association of California Water Agencies, or ACWA, my employer, is a statewide association trying to jointly represent the interests of a very diverse group of water agencies. ACWA has about 440 members. They are all public agencies, so they're all not-for-profit. They're all governed by local boards that are elected or appointed by elected officials. And we are concerned about the whole range of issues. The ACWA membership is very diverse. It's agricultural, urban, north-south. Increasingly in California, there's this east-west divide that's difficult to bridge. I work for a 36-member board of directors that represents water agencies throughout the state of California, and we try to speak with one voice on the issues of the day. And it might surprise you how often we're able to actually do that.
That is sounds like it would be a diverse group of agencies with different populations that they serve. So that I would think would be a real challenge. As we now enter the 5th year drought, because no one's declared the current drought over yet, even though Northern California has had some above average rainfall in certain areas and above average snowfall. It's pretty amazing that we have gone through the 4 years of the worst drought we've seen in our recent history. And yet we did lose some lawns, we did see some brown landscapes, but wasn't one of the main purposes of the state of California's efforts to the State Water Resources Control Board really was to try to minimize the economic dislocations that might be caused by this drought?
Yeah, Mike, it is amazing, and your listeners ought to think a little bit about the fact we are going to the 5th year of the worst drought we have ever seen in our history, and our economy is still strong. The California economy is still growing faster than the national economy. We're adding jobs faster than the national economy. Yet this is a serious national disaster. How is that possible? It's possible because we have been investing for 25 years. This generation of water managers and their ratepayers have been investing for 25 years in alternative sources of supply, like recycling water, conserving water, desalinating water, cleaning up contaminated groundwater basins. It's a mind-boggling array of things that have been happening at the local level, and those local investments were in place and they were ready for this drought. So we were able to get through this drought with just brown lawns, and it's turning out some of those brown lawns may not have been necessary. But as I said, it's a rather remarkable transformation from a time in the last big drought. I've been managing water in California for over 30 years. There was a drought that was just about this nasty from 1987 to 1992, and in that drought, everybody was planning on the state and federal government to save them. That's how California had progressed. Big projects to import water, and everybody was counting on the state water project to be completed and provide reliable supplies even during drought. And during that drought 25 years ago, it became apparent that strategy of relying on the state wasn't going to work for the long term. And that's what triggered a lot of investment throughout California in an alternative strategy to develop the local resource as opposed to relying so heavily on the imported resource. And as I said a moment ago, what we're experiencing in 2014, 15, 16, dividends on that strategy. It has paid off, and we need to make sure that we stay on that same track in the future.
You know, what makes that even more remarkable is you think of the population growth within the state of California between that 1992 time period and today, 2016, because we're, I think, something like at least 33 million, maybe 38 million. I mean, we were certainly not at that level back then in 1990, 91, 92 when that last drought hit us. So it is remarkable what these California water agencies have actually been able to accomplish, kind of silently, really, because Rob and I pay attention to what water agencies are doing, and honestly, we've learned so much about the investments that have been made over the last 20 years that the main water agencies have undertaken. Do they share much of these activities within the meetings that your association has?
We certainly do share them amongst ourselves, and we probably could do a better sharing them with people outside our community. There are a number of conferences that are happening around California water, but the biggest and I think most varied are Aqua. We have one in the spring every year in Northern California. If your listeners are interested, the first week of May in Monterey, California, come onto our website and learn all about our spring conference. We just finished one in the fall. In the first week of December of last year in Indian Wells. And at our Aqua conferences, there might be 75 different venues, 75 different panels, presentations, technical presentations, other things, and they get into all of these aspects of what our members are dealing with as our members share information about where they're succeeding, where they're having challenges. The water industry I've never regretted spending my career in. It is filled with a lot of entrepreneurial, innovative people are, as I said, doing things radically differently than the generation that preceded us. In this generation, in the old generation, the projects were big and noticeable. The L.A. Aqueduct, the Hetch Hetchy system, the Colorado River Aqueduct. You had these big projects with big shiny engineers on top of them, and the Mulhollans and the O'Shaughnessy's were easy to make as your heroes. In our generation, the projects are much smaller. We play little ball, but we play it very effective, and you add it all up, you stack it all together, and you have something very meaningful for the state of California. But instead of one or two Mulhollans or O'Shaughnessy's, we've got scores, maybe even hundreds of people who are out there doing the kind of outside the box thinking that was happening early in the last century. That's happening early in our own century. It's just happening on a smaller scale and in a much greater variety of places.
I know that out in Indian Wells, you were talking about how all water agencies are doing their share, and they really are. I mean, Mike and I see that all the time as we work with them. I know the Dublin San Ramon Services District won an award that you guys gave them, the Yule Hauser Best in Blue Award.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for their work in conservation and communications and things like that. And we're finding that, I mean, I'm glad they did that, but I see all the water agencies in California doing that, and they're all doing a good job. They've all stepped up to the plate to help do that. I think one of the next things they're worrying about is, getting some dollars. I know San Diego just got awarded $31 million for their region from DWR, but 2016 promises to be another critical year for our water policy, centering on political charged discussions and whether Jerry Brown is going to extend his urban conservation mandates. And are they really going to build those 2 30-mile-long tunnels under the Sacramento Delta? And then also how they're going to divide the $7.5 billion water bond measure. Where do you see that, and how do you see your association as part of that?
Those are some big questions, Rob, as I know you're aware. Let's start with the activities of continued drought management. This drought was really nasty. This year is, as we sit here in late January, mid to late January of 2016, things are looking better. We haven't seen a December, January as promising as this for 5 years. But our storage is still at very low levels. As a water manager, the drought's not over until your storage recovers, as far as I'm concerned. So we have to continue to be vigilant. There's no argument about that. We are having a pretty fierce argument about what does it mean to be vigilant in managing a drought. And the State Water Resources Control Board is headed down a path where the only thing that really means is rationing of one sort or another. And they have made, in one of our arguments a year ago, was you have to account for the supply investments that locals are making and that we've been talking about on this in this conversation up until now. Those investments got virtually no recognition, no credit in what the State Board was doing a year ago. We argued at the time that they should be accounted for, and the Board told us, well, we don't have time, it's an emergency, so we're going to go ahead with a rationing-only policy. But they did promise that they would look at it again this year. Now, this year, they are making some what I will label as token adjustments that reflect those supply investments, but not really. I mean, when you peel back the layers of the onion, what we're looking at with the proposal that the State Board has, which the Board's going to act on in early February, it is basically a rationing-only approach that doesn't give, in our view, the local agencies that have done these amazing things over the last 20 years, any credit for that creativity and the protection that they're providing for California's economy during the drought. And our concern is that if you believe that's the way droughts are going to be dealt with in the future, it is a very strong disincentive for further investment by local boards. Because you talk your ratepayers into paying for these projects, then it comes time to use them, and the state has a regulatory apparatus that basically forbids you to use them. And we're trying to get the governor's folks to see that they don't want that to be the plan of the Brown administration over the long term. Still, lively public debate. We will continue, but I do want to emphasize it's not about whether we continue to manage under drought conditions. You just have two different views held by different folks. One view that says conservation has to come first. Another view, which Aqua adheres to, is that we should respect the balanced investment portfolios that include demand management and supply augmentation that are in everybody's drought contingency plans. We would prefer to see much more deference on the part of the state for the local planning that had occurred to be ready for the drought in advance, and we don't think we're seeing enough of that. I'll wait for you to ask a question if you'd like, and then be glad to talk a bit about where Aqua's at on the governor's tunnels.
No, why don't you go ahead and do that?
We love to argue about things in California water, and the thing we love to argue about most are those tunnels. And Aqua is, I find myself in an interesting place on this because I have members who believe the tunnels are the most important thing that could possibly happen, and I have members who are prepared to sue the plan that would try and move the tunnels forward. The place where my board of directors lands, and I think the place where all California should be, is that the tunnels have to be considered as part of a broad, comprehensive strategy for California. If you look at them or talk about them in isolation, if you try to move that project in isolation all by itself, you're not going to succeed. You're going to fail because the Delta is the most controversial place in California water. I think the Brown administration gets that. We recently held a major event up here in Northern California, basically showcasing the governor's comprehensive statewide plan, in which a plan to do the tunnels are. And I like the way we fall into the environmentalist rhetoric because they like to talk about tunnels. I think that's a negative word. All that's happening here is we're moving intakes for our big water supply projects from a place that's not very good for them to be to a place that's much better for them to be. The Aqua membership, I think, generally recognizes that physical engineering change in California water is a desirable thing as long as it's part of a comprehensive solution. And we haven't gotten engaged on should there be one tunnel or two tunnels or should there be 3,000 CFS or 9,000 CFS. That's not our issue. Our issue is let's make sure that we don't pursue the tunnels in isolation, that they're developed as part of a statewide plan that's investing in storage, that's investing in demand management, that's investing in our upper watersheds for healthy forests and with water supply and water quality benefits. If the whole package is moving together, it's got a much better chance than if we take it apart piece by piece and try to move pieces individually. So
I know down here in Southern California, one of the things that we all worry about is 90% of the water when El Nino comes is going to unfortunately go to the ocean. How does Aqua see more investment by the state into stormwater management and getting funds for that?
Well, let me talk about a couple things there. Well, first, apart from stormwater, one of the things that your comment, Rob, suggests, in addition to fixing how the Delta functions, we need to invest in surface storage and more groundwater storage as well. And Aqua is a huge proponent of that. When you get the big storms in the system, we have to benefit from them throughout the state of California. In February, people forget, it hasn't always been as dry as it's been the last 4 years. In February of 2011, we had big storms that year, especially big on the San Joaquin, and there was a delta outflows were over 100,000 cubic feet per second. That's a lot of outflow for your listening audience. And yet we had to turn the pumps off up in the delta because we had no place to park the water. And I like to call them parking lots. When you get those big events up in the delta, you need to be able to get water out in fairly large volume and get it into a surface storage facility that can hold it in large amounts quickly, and then move it into groundwater basins and move it into local storage. That's a key part of California's future that we're only beginning to develop as far as Aqua is concerned. Now, you mentioned stormwater. There's a supply rationale for stormwater as well, although stormwater is not nearly as economical as some might make you believe. It's really expensive. It's being driven not so much by supply considerations as by environmental regulations. And all along the coast of California, the Environmental Protection Agency and the state under related state laws are placing increasingly stringent stormwater outflow criteria on local public agencies, and to manage those and to comply with those regulations, we're looking at some of the most expensive infrastructure we've ever seen in California water. In San Diego County, in the city of San Diego is looking at a $7 billion price tag to comply with stormwater requirements. I think the city of LA is in the same neighborhood, about $6 billion. And financing that infrastructure is becoming a major challenge. Under current law, it's difficult to finance such infrastructure because that infrastructure, for reasons I can't explain, it's current law because of something passed back in 1996 called Proposition 218. If you are water or sewer infrastructure, you go through one process, and we're doing that all the time. But if you're stormwater infrastructure, the courts have interpreted that you have to go to a direct vote of the people and get 2/3 of them to say yes to the investment. That is, of course, a very high political bar to get over. And so Aqua with others are looking at ways to make it a bit easier to have outreach to the public, to make sure the public is aware of what you're doing and that what you're doing is necessary, and you're raising rates that are consistent with the cost you're having to incur to capture and wherever you can reuse stormwater. But right now financing that infrastructure is difficult, and we're working with the League of Cities and with the California State Association of Counties to ways to make it a bit easier to finance that stormwater infrastructure.
Very good. Wow.
There's a lot of moving parts in the world of California water.
Well, absolutely. This is what our audience doesn't hear every day.
I'm out here at the California Irrigation Institute, or attended the California Irrigation Institute, and one of the speakers a couple of years ago said the way to manage through the drought is by doing all of the above. And that really, I think, is consistent with what you said, Tim, in terms of it can't just be about the tunnels, or it can't just be about conservation, or it can't just be about increasing groundwater resources. So there is a multitude of initiatives, activities, investments that are being undertaken by the water agencies, and I think it just seems logical that ought to be supported by the state of California, and that's where the water bond funding should go to, is the agencies that have these projects, ready to go.
Well, if you listen to the governor on January 14th, when he was appearing at an event that was jointly sponsored by the Brown administration and Aqua, that's exactly what the governor said. I mean, the governor has been on point that we have to check the box next to all of the above, and we have to mean it. We have to be moving forward, and we are moving forward with Proposition 1 funds being allocated. Proposition 1 was designed, with a heavy input by the Brown administration to finance that comprehensive program that he was advocating back with his California Water Action Plan. I can't resist still pointing out this is one more reason why we are concerned about the trend of events in how we're regulating water at the State Water Resources Control Board. because the state board is not taking all of the above approach on managing this drought. They're taking the check one box only approach. Check the reduced conservation through rationing, and we would like to see them make their drought. We need to evolve drought management where it's more consistent with the long-term policy of the state of California.
Well, that's great. Well, we're very supportive of that approach, and of course, we just are one little tiny part of reducing water use on outdoor landscapes, whether they're commercial or residential. But we certainly have an appreciation for what the water agencies are doing across the state of California. And this one last question I have, and I'll turn it back to Rob, and that is this drink portal that the state of California put together. Is that something that the water agencies that make up your association, is that something that I know they have to feed in on a monthly basis data so that the state of California then can produce these monthly results in terms of the 411 water agencies that are reporting what their monthly per capita gallons per day use is and how it compares to, at least last year was compared to 2013. I think that this year, I don't know if they're going to do an average to compare to, or maybe a 2014 comparison to 2016 use, but can you maybe make a comment in terms of that whole data collection, data presentation part of it?
Well, it works both ways for us. My organization is a strong believer we need better and more data to manage the system by. That's someplace where I think we need to improve a lot. So, the gathering of how you're using and consuming water in the urban sector, we think that that's important. Important data for managing the system better. Same thing's true for ag and managing our water rights system up in Northern California. Although, and by the way, I'm not aware that the state board is thinking of changing the base period. They would still be looking at 2013. Which makes some sense when rationing of demand is your goal. If you want a certain percentage reduction in demand, and then you need to pick a base period. And I don't think they're likely to change the base period. We've seen no indications of it. But on the other hand, a lot of my members are, they're saying, well, if you give them the data, be careful because they might use it in ways you're not thrilled with. And that's certainly happening to us with that with data. We don't believe what they're doing with the data is a good policy, although we do believe that we need better data to manage the system. So I guess let the debate continue. That's what democracy is about, right, guys?
That's right. That's right.
Oh, absolutely. If you had to put into scope, do you believe the politicians up in Sacramento put water pretty much at the top of their list, or second, third, fourth, or where do you see that?
Well, I'm not going to say first, second, third. Who knows? I haven't done a poll of the political leadership of the state, but water is certainly on near the top of everybody's list in Sacramento, and it has been for a couple of years now. And they say don't let a good crisis go to waste. I would argue we haven't let this crisis go entirely to waste. Others are using it for their own purposes, but we passed a truly historic groundwater law, and the drought made it easier to do that. We passed a water bond 2-to-1 that is the envy of other water managers in other western states. I mean, $7.5 billion dollars in grants to promote the governor's comprehensive plan. That was a huge undertaking. Where there's a major effort right now to make the water market work better. The public is saving water, and again, I want to emphasize, Aqua is all about using less water in the future than we do in the past. We just want to do it as part of a comprehensive program and do it in a wise way. Those are all, I think, just as in the last drought. Earlier, my story was the last drought really really propelled us strongly into an alternative way of meeting demands using local supplies. That was powerful. 25 years later, it has reshaped our world. I think this drought will change how we use water outside, and again, we're all for that.
I give lots of credit to the water agencies because they've certainly put on good programs of education and talk to the people and let them know really what's happening. And I think that's excellent. People don't like the word conserve. They think that's a threat to them. They're losing their rights. But when people start talking about how to use water more efficiently and things like that, I think the message that was coming from the water agencies has been real good. If we take a look at all the water agencies that have complied with the reduction of water. It's amazing. I mean, they've done a remarkable job.
They have indeed.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to share with us about your association. What's the website again if people want to learn more about the association?
It's really simple, aqua.com.
Great. And that's ACWA.
ACWA, Association of California Water Agencies, acwa.com. We'll take you to our website. And if I say so myself, my staff has put together one of the better websites that's out there.
It's actually an excellent one. Well, thanks a lot, Tim. Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob and Mike. Appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. Bye.
Great. We're going to take a little break and from our sponsors, and we'll be right back on KCAA 1050 AM with The Water Zone with Rob and Mike. Or Mike and Rob.
Are your monthly water bills draining your wallet? Then you need Valley Soil, your one-stop expert on water conservation to save you water, time, and most of all, money. With over 35 years of experience, Valley Soil has implemented numerous conservation programs for water districts throughout California. They have performed over 12,000 water audits and installed over 300,000 smart irrigation products for municipalities, residential, and commercial property owners, saving over 293 million gallons of water each year. That's enough to fill 15,000 swimming pools. Their services also include indoor water audits, leak detection, retrofits, reclaimed water systems, and managed water use and data tracking. As certified irrigation auditors and a state-licensed landscape contractor, you can trust them to be knowledgeable about the services you need, products they install, and best practices in water conservation. For an individualized water solution for you, contact them today at 888-268-1009. That's 888-268-1009 or valleysoil.com. Remember, when it comes to innovative ideas to save water, Valley Soil never lets you run dry.
Are you looking for the right place to purchase your landscaping items? Well, come see us at Hydroscape. Hydroscape offers a large selection of irrigation products including Irritrol and Toro, such as their efficient precision nozzles. For 40 years, Hydroscape has been family-owned and operated, serving Southern California. With 17 locations, our knowledgeable and experienced staff is equipped to help you with all your irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're installing irrigation systems, wanting to maintain a healthy landscape, or simply create a beautiful lit space for outdoor entertaining, Hydroscape is the place to go. Visit our website at hydroscape.com for more information and find helpful articles on our blog. Or call our customer service center at 1-800-395-4477.
We're back with The Water Zone with Mike and Rob, and hope everybody's doing good. That was great with Tim. Appreciate that. He was a good guest. We've known him for a long time, and pretty informative.
Yeah, and I think if you are interested in keeping up to date on all things water in California, that Aqua website, acwa.com, is a great place to capture short snippets of what's going on.
Yeah, perfect information. A little bit of next week's guests. It's Ag Week, and we're going to have our micro irrigation hosts, Claude Corcus and Paul McFarland, and they have a good lineup. They have actually, I'm going to tell you who they are and see if we can get samples from these guys. Bob Curtis, he's the Director of Agriculture Affairs for the Almond Board of California.
Ooh.
So I think he should give us some almonds. And then Chris Dryden, District Operation Manager from Mission Avocado. That could be a good party.
I'm thinking guacamole right now.
Yeah. So that's pretty good.
But the guy from the almonds, though, I don't know. The almond prices have dropped 40% since last July. So I hope he can make it down here.
I hope so. They do have some interesting things about what they're doing about water and how they're reducing their usage of water and increasing their yield, so that's going to be good. And the week after that, on February 25th, we have a real treat. We have California Secretary of Natural Resources, John Laird. We caught up with him the other day, and that's a really good interview that we should play.
We got the opportunity to listen to him at the Irrigation Association Water Summit in November of 2015, and his command of water history in California, of the different types of legislation that is being considered within the state of California and the various entities within the California government that have to deal with water, just I was very impressed.
So we can dub him the water god of California and Felicia Marcus the water goddess?
I think as long as that's with a little g.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
If that's politically correct.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's time for I'm blessed because I'm working with Mikeypedia and the DIY sprinkler guy, Richard Daigle.
Richard Daigle, are you there?
How you guys doing?
Excellent.
We hear you're in the wine. We hear you're up in the wine country. Have you been nipping away?
A little bit. We've got about 18 couples here in Paso Robles. So Irrigator Tech sponsors this with Wilkins, and husbands and wives and kids can come up here. We pay for their hotel, pay for all their food for 2 days, and then bring them through the factory and train them on all the backflow they need to know in the irrigation and landscape marketing.
And that is so critical because backflow preventers, which are manufactured by Wilkins in the state of California, these are the devices that protect our drinking water so that when there are back pressure situations, right, where something happens to the water system, all of a sudden there's a sucking action. We don't suck dirty water from our sprinkler lines into the drinking water system. So that's very, very important. And getting people trained, certified to be able to check those devices, that's top notch. I congratulate Irrigator Tech for that endeavor.
Yep.
Yeah, and one of my tips for today would be that, just about every house on the West Coast has anti-siphon valves in front of their house. So right in front of your house, you basically have your main line come in, and then you hook up, and you've got a valve on one side, and you have a little vacuum breaker. The old ones you might have seen in the past would be the Champion, the old brass ones, but now there's just tremendous amount of great plastic ones out in the field. And on the other side, there's a little float. And what that does is it has to be 12 inches higher than the highest sprinkler head on the system. So if you have any fertilizer or anything that siphons back, that nothing can suck back into your drinking water. Now, if you use an inline valve, that means if you have a valve that's in a valve box that's at your house and it's underground, below that, you need to have an above-ground backflow. So if you've got 20 valves and you don't want to see those hanging up in the air around from the front yard and backyard, you can put in 3/4, 1 inch inline valves around your house and then have a pressure vacuum breaker that would be tested every year to make sure that nothing siphons into your drinking water. And a lot of people think, well, hey, why do I need something like that? I don't think the fertilizer will get back in or anything. So what really happens on this from your house is, let's just say about 20 miles from your house, there is a hotel or an industrial building that catches on fire, and the fire truck comes. And when they go over to that building to put the fire out, they're putting it out, and boom, some flames burst for some reason, the chemicals inside, and the chief of the fire department presses a button and hits the pump truck. And when he hits that pump truck, he's now pulling all the water for 20 to 30 miles away from that and siphoning everything because his men are in that building and he wants to save them and get everybody out safe out of the building. So they really kick the water in by putting on the booster pump. And when they put that booster pump for 20 to 30 miles, every backflow is going tush, 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 and they're all shutting off. So we want to make sure our anti-siphon valves in front of our house, it has a little float that's on the other side, works, because what it will do is the vacuum will pull it and shut it off so nothing can pull back. Because what it will do is it'll turn your hose bib, that where your hose hooks on, it will turn it backwards, suck the water out of there. If your anti-siphon valve on your irrigation doesn't work, it'll suck the water from the toilets. If you had your hose inside of a pool, it will turn the hose bib on, and actually the vacuum from it is so strong would suck the water out of the pool.
Wow.
So we always want to make sure that our house is safe by using anti-siphon valves and always have them 12 inches above the ground. We always want to make sure if we don't want to have those on a house and we want to have them below ground, that we do have a backflow preventer that would work on your home.
Why don't you, for our listeners, I know you teach certifications for backflow, but explain why that's necessary and why the state has done that, and the importance of that, and who can get involved, and who can get involved in doing that, because that's kind of a cool job.
Oh, it's a great job, because what we want to do is make sure the cross connection on all of our backflows. So somebody takes a 40-hour test which we have 18 men and women that have taken the class, and they're up here. They're all of our graduates, and they're going to go through the Wilkins plant, and they know how to take them apart, put them back together. So a lot of people think, hey, we're trying to save our water and make sure that no contaminants. So a cross connection would be if you're in a dentist office and he puts and drills in your mouth and siphons things out. Below the dentist chair, there's a 1/8 backflow. On your Coke machine, so if you go in a Circle K or any type of place, there's all 1/8 backflow. So if there's Diet Coke and regular Coke, Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper, Cherry Coke, every single one of them have
Slurpees.
a 1/8 backflow, and it's keeping the syrup and the carbonation from getting into our drinking water. So on the air conditioners, on your roof, on the Coke machines, inside of any soda place, a Starbucks has 27 backflows inside the building to make sure when they're preparing your cup of coffee that nothing siphons back into it and contaminates our drinking water.
You know, what this makes me think is that unbeknownst to the common average person like myself, there are silent, invisible guardians that are protecting the quality of our water supply. And this is
all the time.
Yeah. And
if you have a company that puts in computer chips and they have waving machines at the coroner's office, at the dentist office, any medical place when they do x-rays, we have to make sure that water that sits somewhere doesn't siphon back into our drinking water. So it's run by the health department, and they empower the water authority in every county. So there's one in Orange County, one in Riverside, one in San Bernardino, and each county, and that water purveyor makes sure that those backflows get tested. And what he does is when you get a certification through us or anybody else on backflow, you have to take a 40-hour class and then make sure that you sign an agreement for that water authority that if you see something that may be a cross connection. A lot of times when you go out to a gas station and they hook up those little water machines and air machines, they'll hook right up to the test cock on a backflow and put the water in there. If a tester goes out, in case somebody stuck their hose into the radiator at a gas station, and if it's siphoned back, it would get back in our drinking water. So as a backflow tester, you have to make sure that you have no cross connections and that you're protecting the public's water at all times. So it could be carbonations, could be syrup, could be coffee, could be all different types of stuff for cleaning our foods and processing everything that we clean, that nothing gets back and contaminate our drinking water.
Or even sprinkler water.
Right.
Sprinkler water, if you fertilize and then you have puddles that are there and the sprinkler head sitting in it, and if the backflow didn't work, it would siphon that back in. And that's why even when you see people that spray chemicals in the landscape industry and spray a Roundup or any kind of chemicals at all onto the ground, they always have to have a PVC pipe above the thing to make an air gap so no water. They hook the hose to that and make sure that there's no way the water would ever touch chemicals or ever sit in any kind of way that you would ever put a hose inside of a tank or anything else, because that's considered a cross connection.
Well, those who want to get a hold of you to learn more about how to become a backflow inspector and tester, how do they do that?
They get a hold of us at irrigatortech.com. They can look at our website as www.irrigatortech.com. They want to watch videos of how people test and repair and service backflows. We've got about 15 videos on Green Industry News on YouTube, and you can watch and service and know what's happening on your backflow by watching our testers and seeing the procedures that if a backflow does not work, or you want to service it yourself by just taking a cap off and going to your normal irrigation supply house and buy the new float that goes in. You want to make sure that all your rubber parts are flexible and can be changed every couple of years, and make sure that all your valves around your house are safe and working properly.
Great. Well, we're not going to keep you because we're about almost out for the show, but we do want you to have a good time. And I like Chardonnay. Mike likes
anything.
Go enjoy your evening with your friends. And thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you very much.
You guys.
Say hi to Wilkins and tell him keep up the good work.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Call in and ask questions for the DIY guy.
You got it. So anyway, don't forget about the contest. Go to ToroWatersmart.com and join us next week. Again, it's a good ag thing, and we'll have some guacamole and goodies and nachos.
And almonds.
And almonds, too. So everybody have a good week. We'll talk to you later.
And keep saving water. We're still in a drought, California.
This is 1050 AM KCAA Loma Linda and KCAA FM Yucaipa 106.5 FM.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Keith Langlots for tonight, mostly clear, low